Hello, friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly with me, your host, Trevor Stewart 1308, and we are here with the Peanut Gallery. Are we going to be being joined by the ASOC prod later, do you know?
He's currently couch surfing in Dreamland.
She is asleep. Understandable. She mentioned that she had a bit of a rough night last night. She didn't sleep well. When I said good morning to her this morning, she said she didn't sleep well last night. So that is understandable. Well, hey, what's up, Maddie Huns? You slept for 12 hours last night. Right on. That is a nice amount of sleep. You usually sleep 7. I believe it. Lockpick is here. Lockpick barely slept at all last night. I believe that too. You were still going when I went to bed last night.
My record is almost 3 days.
Huh?
My record is almost 3 days.
Almost 3 days without sleeping?
No, almost 3 days of sleep.
Oh. that is, yeah, that's a lot of sleep there. That is, I don't think I've gotten 3 days of sleep. I think my record is, I think my record's about 24 hours. So let me start with today's ad read. Today's show brought to you in association with Hidden Leaf, Hidden Leaf and Sky Mall VA. On the downtown mall, Charlottesville, Virginia, 105 West Main Street. A great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds, eh, bud? And the only thing better than their bud is their customer service. We're also brought to you in association with Kush Gang Snacks, findable on Instagram at KGSnacks434 and available at Sky Mall VA Smoking Lounge, where you can also find drinks from one of our other sponsors, Dope Ash Drinkables. Get dope, stay dope, be dope. Findable at Sky Mall VA Smoking Lounge. Hey, knock it off. And we are also brought to you in association with Firehouse Organics. That's Firehouse with a Z, Organics. Findable on Instagram at Firehouse Organics. Not to be confused with Firehouse Subs. A note of disclaimer: we will probably be expressing opinions today on the show. It is going to be an opinion-based show today. Those opinions belong to the expressor of the opinion and or us and or the parent company and or channel, but not necessarily any of our sponsors, including Hidden Leaf, Sky Mall VA, Kush Gang Snacks, Dope Ash Drinkables, and Firehouse Organics, spelled with a Z. I also want to start today's show with a continuing very special message. I know a lot of people are going through a rough time right now in life. And I just want to tell them, I love you. I love all of you. For those who need to hear it, there is love out here for you. All right, so that's our opening. I feel like that's still a little awkward. I haven't figured out how to do the I love you message and not make it awkward.
The problem is I kept on thinking of ways to make it more awkward.
I'm sure you did. Because I've got ways I could make it more awkward too, but I'm not trying to. So we are much love, Lockpick. Much love. We are if by the way, Lockpick, if you feel up to hopping into chat, hopping into the Discord. Oh, there's Kat. I have got a subject for us to discuss, much like we discussed last week. And I don't know what the debate's actually going to be, if there is going to be a debate. But in the vein of laws, as we were talking about last week around the cannabis laws and how we feel laws affect society, very good chance you'll hop in. All right. And I know I came out very much against laws last week, or seemed to. And it's not that I'm against laws. It's that I'm against this very specific concept of law and order. That phrase stands for an idea. And it has it very much has to do with the culture that you exist in as to how you view that phrase. Now, I am to some degree against the idea of being told what I can and cannot do, especially when it comes to my own personal freedoms in my own personal space. First, I need to get coffee made. Oh, you're going to want some coffee for this. You're going to want something high octane. Because the laws we're talking about today are speed limits. And speed limits are, in my opinion, a pretty interesting set of laws. There's no national standard. There's no national standard. I was going to say except on interstates, but no, even those are state by state.
Yep.
And county by county.
And county by county. Yeah. Important. Yeah. So speed limits, another interesting thing about speed limits is they're not arbitrary. I do feel, well, we'll get into what I think of them later. But they are not arbitrary. They exist through statistical analysis. And that analysis was both looking at safety and fuel economy. And so speed limits exist for a societal and environmental reason. And I think that puts them into an interesting section of laws. Both important things, right? And a safety reason, and very much a safety reason. The safety reason was gotten to, like the numbers were gotten to through statistical analysis, through scientific method. There are very few laws in our country that exist that exist in a more science-based exist from a more science-based approach. So that is, I feel like that puts it in a very, in a very interesting class of laws. Now, let's take a quick gravity. Not food and drug testing. Food and drug testing come from, that's one of those ones that's similar to speed limits, I'd say, especially in the science-based way. Same with building codes, although not as rigorous, I think.
No, I would say on your state, keeping in mind that it's a state-by-state basis, even for building codes.
It is. Yeah, it is, and locality. It is.
But I would say that those are.
I think building
Right.
codes are not kept up like they need to be. Okay,
Well,
let's take a quick sidetrack on this. Building codes don't take into account the changing environment.
Depends on where you're at.
which I would argue speed limits do not either.
Fair.
I would say,
and I'm not saying. Okay, hold on. Let me get to the end about the thing about building codes.
yeah.
And this wouldn't be as. I would be great with building codes, except the growing number of earthquakes and our continued use of rigid materials that don't account for earthquakes. I also think that grandfather clauses, where you can grandfather a building through without bringing it up to code, I'm not wild about that. That being said, having worked in construction, they do an earthquake. It's that more places are becoming earthquake areas. Having worked in construction and built to code, I think that building codes are incredibly important, and they are not as far off from as some of the other laws in our legal lexicon.
I don't know. Albemarle and the whole brick facade.
Yeah, that's a building code that is stupid.
Again, I'm not saying all of our building codes are great.
No.
Just to share what Maddie shared there in the yeah, not all building codes are great. Now, again, we're not really talking about building codes here. I'm just saying I think that building codes could use a revisit. There were a lot of times where I was doing something and I was like doing it up to code, and I'm like, this is not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's not what we're here to talk about. And it is, this is also part of that interesting class of laws where these come from a science-based approach. Now,
I would
building
like to
codes
classify or qualify or whatever that as a science-based approach where the science hasn't been disproven or looked at again and been like, this wasn't even scientific in the first place. We thought it was. It's not. This is garbage. In
Agreed.
the last 30 to 50 years.
As Maddie says, buildings, I think all of our codes, regulations, and requirements need a massive overhaul and update. Buildings, forensics, occupancy laws, urban planning, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, clothing, etc. Yes, I agree.
Because we've got a lot of things where it was based on what was considered science at the time. What was considered good science at the time.
Settled science, even.
And later on, it's like, okay, no, we are looking at this and this is horribly wrong. We're tossing this out.
Well, after the earthquake hit, it definitely is settled science.
I'd say it's more unsettled at that point.
Just saying. And to bring this away from that and back to speed limits now. Like, poor Venezuela. Yeah. Like forcing Fallout 4 to not have janky AF buildings. Yep. To bring this back to speed limits, though. This is a set of laws that are not telling me what I can do on my own property. They're telling me how I interact with the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're based on this statistical analysis. There's, even if hold on. What's going on in chat? Place Anywhere is the best mod to fix that. Maddie says that oil money Trump is sucking out of Venezuela would be incredibly helpful right now. I shouldn't have used a mod, LOL. Yes, it would be. It really would be. So without giving away my own position just yet, let's take a poll of everybody. How do we feel about speed limits? But Place Anywhere isn't available for consoles. Snapping is still effed. Maddie is for speed limits. What about you guys?
Having been in or nearly in several speed-related accidents because other people were not behaving.
And then lockpick happened.
I would say overall I am for them. As long as they are either enforced or not enforced across the board.
And now we come to one of the problems with speed limits. And there goes lockpick.
He'll be back.
Trying to get audio to work. Okay.
Yeah.
Speed limits can seem like an arbitrary law that can be used to oppress certain groups of people, depending on where you enforce the speed limits or who you pull over. It can have a very racist effect. Lockpick.
I think I got it working.
I hear you.
Perfect.
What were you about to say? Peanut gallery?
Oh, I was saying I was so glad I was able to get my opinion in before that.
Okay.
I try not to step into other people's statements and thus giving them a pause, which other people are more adept at stepping into. So I usually miss my opportunities and get annoyed with myself.
Yeah.
Aha. Aha.
But as for speed limits, they're good in concept. The math is not always correct. And yeah, enforcement needs to be more strictly adhered to.
Okay. Before we get Lockpick's opinion, I'm going to read what Maddie just said, and then Lockpick, you give us your opinion on speed limits. My grandparents had friends who died in a horrible car crash. They were driving along a country road when some dipshit teenager kid was going 90 and plowed straight into them. Everyone in the crash died except one who had all of her ribs broken in the crash. They were all almost 80 years old. The teenager ended up in prison for it. Just because some groups or governments can use a rule to target a specific group doesn't mean that rule is bad by default. I'm sorry about your grandparents, and you know, there is a good reason why these things should be enforced. Also, rules are not necessarily in and of themselves bad. They can be tools, and tools can be good or bad depending on how they're used. All right, Lockpick, let's go. Where are you at here?
Well, I used to think I was one of those people who die hard. I kind of like speed limits. I think they're there for a damn good reason. I'm someone who literally has spent over 2 million miles on the road driving a big ass honking vehicle. And I've seen what happens when things go wrong. And the one common factor is the faster people are going, the worse it ends up being. Because people don't realize if you can, I mean, I'm driving a big vehicle. One of the rules they always explain to us, if you double your weight, you double your stopping distance. If you double your speed, you quadruple your stopping distance. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think going, oh, if I'm going 30 over the speed limit, that's whatever, I can slow down, not realizing that that's possibly enough to over double how long it's going to take for them to stop, even if they do react to something. And I've watched people hit guardrails straight on. The people going fast, you don't know where their body went when they're done. The people who are usually going the speed limit, the car might be a write-off, but surprisingly, most of the roads are designed to handle a collision or an accident at the speeds, and everybody goes home that day. Now, where it kind of falls apart for me, though, is recently they're trying to make all over my province, our highways, they're increasing the speed limits because they've actually found that increasing the speed limits made people drive slower. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around why that works. But in a lot of the little communities, you know, they'll have like a speed limit. We use kilometers. We don't use Yankee units. But they're reducing the speed limit and reducing the speed limit and reducing the speed limits almost to the point where cars have to drive through at a walking speed.
Mm-hmm.
There's one area in town here where I have to have my foot on the brake because the idle speed of my vehicle is 5 kilometers an hour faster than the speed limit on the street. And at
Mm-hmm.
that point, I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. This is no longer about economy. This is no longer about safety. This is about somebody who says, well, lower speeds are better, so let's reduce it to 0. And they probably would if they could. It all depends on where it comes from. Like, I'm in a vehicle that is speed limited. I can't go faster than 100 kilometers an hour in my truck.
Mm-hmm.
Period. That's it. That's 60 miles an hour, give or take. That's
Okay.
it. Can't go any faster. And my whole industry, people complain about it. It's mostly about fuel efficiency. It's also about safety. But when I look at the fact that my cargo is big and heavy and can cause damage, so I agree that I should be speed limited. Why is it that a charter bus can do 140 kilometers an hour and its cargo is people? Why Why isn't that a universal thing? I'm almost in the camp where I don't even think cars should be able to do the speeds that a car is able to do, because there's nowhere you actually need to do it unless you're passing somebody.
Right.
Give people a 20-second or a 30-second buffer range where their car can do whatever, and then make it slow the fuck down again. Like, you wouldn't need the speed limits, and you wouldn't have these problems with the enforcement if we didn't have cars that were capable of doing 2.5 times the speed on the fastest highways in the nation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
do. My first car was a Volvo 244 sedan that had 120 on the speedometer, 120 miles an hour on the speedometer. It had been converted from an automatic transmission to a standard transmission. And there was no way I could get it to go 120 miles an hour downhill off a cliff full of concrete with a good tailwind. I was not getting it over 80. That car was speed limited. I do think there is no reason why in Virginia the fastest speed you're illegally allowed to go is 80 miles an hour. There are portions of 64 and 81 and maybe 95 that the speed limit is 70. And they will let you go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. If you're going through a camera area, you might want to go 79. Because they will nail you at 10, specifically.
Because at 10, they count that as reckless.
No. Not at 10. At 80, anything over 80 is considered reckless in Virginia. Anything
No.
20...
Yes and no.
20,
if you are going a certain amount over the speed limit, they count that as reckless.
And that's 20. 20 over the speed limit is counted as reckless. 10 over is just enough for them to do the paperwork. Anything under 10 and it's not worth doing the paperwork. Anything over 80 is reckless. Yes, exactly. Redlining was an internal rule. Yeah, exactly. Although redlining, I think, was also a rule that was developed to be evil, in my opinion. It was a tool that had a specific... When it was made, it had a specific purpose, and that purpose was not good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Virginia is pretty loose in a lot of ways about its speed laws. It also does some really dumb stuff, like there are 20 mile an hour drops in speed limit with very little warning. Going into Scottsville, it goes from, and this from Charlottesville into Scottsville, it goes from 55 to 35. And you have, I would say, less than a quarter of a mile to slow down from 55 to 35 before you hit that 35 zone. That is not good planning. Now, because I know where that 35 zone is, I start slowing down a ways earlier. And I irritate people. Which brings me to a theory that if you don't get road rage, you cause road rage. That doesn't mean all rules are good or neutral as well. Yeah. Overt rules and hidden rules can be morally, ethically bad. Agreed. I think specifically speed limits weren't necessarily that to start with. And it's about how they're being used. That there are a lot of places also around here where the speed limit is lower than it needs to be. That being said, you're hard pressed to find a speed limit under 25 miles an hour. So it's almost never so slow that my idle speed is faster than the posted speed limit. As you may be sensing, I'm pretty in favor of speed limits. I think they do save lives. They can save fuel. And I try to be within that under 10 miles over speed limit. I try to stay, within that. And I try not to go under the speed limit too much. Because I know that really irritates people behind me. And I'm not really trying to cause road rage. When I cause road rage, it's more incidental.
Mm-hmm.
That's not you causing the road rage, though. That's the other people they're causing it themselves. Just because you're following the rules doesn't mean you're causing the road rage. That's a problem on their shoulders and their shoulders alone.
Sometimes I'm going too slow. There are times when people get pissed at me because I'm going too slow, because I feel like the road I'm on, the speed limit is not a safe speed on that road.
Or at least it's not a safe speed for the car you're currently driving.
Right. I don't feel
that
like
happens.
Yeah. I don't feel like my car. I feel like my car is too big and too heavy to handle portions of certain roads at speed limit. I can sense that the car wants to slide off the road. And I'm like, I know.
And then adjusting speed for conditions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Am I going the legal speed? Oh. I dated a person once who refused to go faster than 40 and would slam on the brakes. Oh, that's rough.
I would be a passenger in that car precisely once, and then I would take their keys and drive everywhere we went.
Yeah. I'd find a polite way to do it, but yeah.
I wouldn't. I feel like you're dangerous. Don't ever drive. I would make them so self-conscious that they would do themselves a favor and never get behind the wheel again. Ethical bullying, I call it.
So around here, we've got a certain type of road rage driver that does not appreciate, that sees the 55 or the 45 as a challenge to break.
Yeah.
And does not appreciate the double yellow line. Because you've been with me, I don't know how many times, where I was doing the speed limit. If I was not sitting right dead on the number, I might have been going a mile or two under the number, and they would just pass me with oncoming traffic. And
Yes.
it's not like you could not see me. I'm in a bright fire engine red car on a black road. You cannot miss this thing.
Nope. And these people and it's weird because they do it to you more than they do it to other people.
I know.
I've ridden with people who drive like you, and don't get that near as much. Head Not Right had a problem, might still have the problem where people try to merge into her. They just
Mm-hmm.
don't see her and they try to drive into her vehicle. Maddie says, I have a friend who cannot drive. She can drive, but she's terrible at it. There are times where we can be in the car with her and you can feel her constantly tapping the gas. She once hit black ice, slid all over the place, let go of the wheel, and literally had a Jesus take the wheel reaction, even though she's Muslim. The car crashed into the road barrier, but she was mostly okay. I cannot believe those two words got modded. What?
They did.
Which
They
ones?
did.
Muslim and
No, no. Hit and black together in the sentence.
oh,
They're close and
oh,
together.
Oh wow.
oh! Now it just showed me. Yeah, allow. Oh, that is wow, Automod. I think it says something about auto. I think it says more about Automod than it says about us. That
Because we didn't tell them
Automod's
not.
mind goes there immediately. Are you covering for something, Automod? Are you being oversensitive because you might just have a problem, Automod?
Automod does not understand how to read the context of a sentence.
I know, I know. I'm just picking on
Are we okay?
Automod. Huh? Um, so now I'm like I said, I drive careful these days. I did
Mm-hmm.
not always. I did not always. I used to when I was younger. I used to cut through traffic. I used to. I used to push the speed limit. Um, I'd try to get away with going 15 over where I could. Um, but yeah, I've always been sort of aware that. Well, okay, so my first car accident, I was pulling out of the driveway to my high school onto a very curvy section of 20 South. I mean, I was pulling across to go north, but it's 20 south of Charlottesville. And the speed limit there, I believe, was. I believe at the time was actually 35.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody came through going 45 or 55 and T-boned me. And they were driving a GMC Suburban, a late 80s, late 1980s GMC Suburban. And I was driving, luckily, a late 1980s, actually early 1980s, mid 1980s Volvo 244 sedan. I was
But
driving that.
while they were driving a block on wheels, you were driving a short, small brick wall on wheels.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they totaled two vehicles that day. I totaled two vehicles that day. You know, they hit my car at speed on my at that, at that bar between the front and back door. They hit my door. Like funny thing is, the last thing I remember right before I got knocked out was seeing a tiny little Chevy symbol getting bigger. But it wasn't a Chevy Suburban, it was a GMC Suburban. Memory is a funny thing like that. I bounced my head off of my window, and shattered it. I don't remember bouncing my head off the window. I just remember them being like, "Lucky your window was rolled down," and me being like, "It was not rolled down."
Mm-mm.
They pulled the rear view mirror out of my pants.
What were
Sounds like
you
a personal
doing?
conversation.
I mean, when I got to the hospital, I was like, I'm kind of uncomfortable. Something doesn't feel right. And I unzipped my pants and opened them up, and they pulled the rear view mirror out.
You know, you can wait till you get home before you do that sort of thing, and you wouldn't have these accidents.
You shouldn't be shaving while driving.
No, you should not.
I got nothing for those. That was good enough that I got nothing. It was a messy crash. And because of that, I have always been sensitive to seat belts and speed limits.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did, I was a kid once too, and was an idiot. Am an idiot. As opposed to those super orderly crashes. Oh, okay. That's good. So, yeah. But I definitely, yes, it will fly when hit by a Suburban. So now we come to the crux of the matter that makes me bring this up. I recently got a speeding ticket.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to lose your mind on a senator or anything right now, are you? Just so we're clear.
No, we're cool. I'm good.
Okay.
I got a speeding ticket, which means I was going 10 miles over the limit. I got a speeding ticket for going 35 in a 25 in a rural, non-populated area. And I got caught by a speed camera.
Mm-hmm.
And while getting popped for 35 and a 25 is a little like, really? Really? Like in a non-populated, non-built-up area, really?
Now, you realize I do live in like southern Ontario where everything is sparse and unpopulated. And I can tell you there are many places where I used to think this speed drop is ridiculous. And now that I'm doing the local driving that I'm doing, and I'm over these roads all day, every day, when something happens on these intersections, it's catastrophic. And I'm starting to really realize that there is a reason why they slow you down. And you can't just be one of those, oh, well, you need to be the one who slows down when you're about to have the accident. There's no way to make the rule work that way.
No.
So, yes, they need to, if for whatever reason they drop that speed, everybody's got to follow it. And yeah, if you're going 10 over, it sucks that you get a ticket, but it might seem unreasonable until things go wrong, and then you realize that okay, maybe this is an area that's problematic. Maybe they're historically, maybe a lot of people died on this little section of road. We had to slow you down, so deal with it.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you know, and just because it affects me negatively in the moment does not mean it's bad. Does not mean it's wrong. Like like Maddie said, we're all socialists until negative impact, then we become libertarians. I, by the way, am not going to contest this speeding ticket. I'm going to pay the $100. I'm not getting any points on my license. It will just go away. I pay the $100. It goes away. I never interacted with a police officer. So I didn't have that 5-minute clock where it's after 5 minutes, a cop goes, "Oh, wait, you're not really white, are you? You're not really like the rest of us, are you?" And then I get arrested. If I can deal with a cop in the first 5 minutes and like really win them over, I'm safe. If I can't, it's entirely possible that I am going to jail for being me. And it's, so yeah, there was, and because it's a speed camera, anybody else who does it is getting popped. It's not.
I disagree with speed cameras. I disagree with the whole speed camera thing.
Really?
Here.
The issue I've got, and I mean they've now twice tried and removed them from the area. The problem is, at least here, the way it's set up, they can't nail the driver specifically. They can only nail the owner of the vehicle. Basically, that means if you're borrowing Daddy's car and you're speeding like a demon, Daddy gets a speeding ticket. But at no point are they able to actually ding the kid who's driving excessively and punish them, put the points on the license, for instance. There's no chance of ever losing your license. So they had an issue. There's a community about half hour from here. It's on a little like private lake, you could call it. There's a few celebrities that have got houses there. You see a lot of very expensive cars owned by very rich people. And when they put the speed cameras in, these guys were using it as almost a game to see who could get a ticket for the highest amount, and it was hanging on the wall in their like rec room or whatever.
Oh.
It was a trophy because they could pay the tickets. A $200 or $300 ticket meant nothing to them. When you're driving a car that's worth like millions of dollars and a tire change costs you more than most people will ever spend on all their vehicles put together, a speeding ticket, whatever. I'm not going to lose my license. They're never going to ding me for it. My insurance won't go up. Let's go. Let's go for it. Let's just go for the highest record. And they're a half-ass measure. To me, the speed cameras are where the speeding laws and the speeding ticket concept just becomes a cash grab. They don't want to have an officer putting in the work. They don't want to properly punish people for what they're doing. And the extreme case is people who are literally seeing how fast their car can go and using the speed limit, like the speed camera, to give them an official record and never being punished for it. Where if a cop had pulled them over, that's the last time they're driving that car for a while. I think somebody needs to be putting the work in. If there's an area that is problematic, park a cruiser there. We got cops driving around all over the place. If you start speeding around here, you're not going to get very far until somebody catches you. But putting the camera in place is just straight up a cash grab.
I mean, yes, I do see that. I see that aspect of it. The other side of this is they're unlikely to station a police officer in a wealthy neighborhood, no matter how people are driving.
They do it here all the time. All the time.
Okay. See,
That might be a difference between our countries, but yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. If the speed is a problem, wealthy neighborhood or not, doesn't matter. If they can start nailing people, they're gonna park there and nail people.
Yeah, no, police officers in the U.S. don't go to wealthy neighborhoods. They just don't. I mean, they go if called. If there's something wrong in a wealthy neighborhood, they're there like that. But they look for crime in poorer neighborhoods. They look for crime in neighborhoods where people don't have the money to fight it. It's part of why poorer neighborhoods are considered high crime. They're no higher crime than any other neighborhood. It's just that more crimes are caught there because the police are there. And this is where having officers enforce speeding is problematic to me. And this is a slight difference between your police and our police. Oh, yeah, okay. We'll come back to that all in a second. But our police, as I said last week, aren't here to prevent crime or even really to catch criminals. Our police exist to protect property. When it comes to catching criminals, that's a political motivation for the police. It's used to control populations, to keep people where they belong and in line. And I think speed cameras take that out of it. Speed cameras are just as likely to catch a wealthy white person speeding as they are to catch a poor non-white person speeding or a wealthy non-white person speeding. I do see the problem with they don't catch who's actually driving the car. It's just the owner of the car who gets the speeding ticket.
But that's where, or at least in some areas, the speed camera, is supposed to be taking a picture of who is driving. So you can go to court and be like, that is not me.
Okay. The speed camera that got me, I don't think got me. It just got my plate.
Mm-hmm. Having been reminded of the way some jurisdictions handle the speed cameras, I'm for them if there's someone looking them over in-house in your county that you can talk to. You've got a court date that you can show up to directly here, as opposed to it being handled by some out of county, out of state, out of country entity.
That does bother me. This is handled by an out of state entity. So I don't like that. This should be an in-state thing. If I'm getting nailed for a speeding violation in this state, set by this state, I should be dealing with somebody in this state. Partially because there are areas in this state around in the legal. There are legal areas in this state, areas in the legal system around speed limits that are fuzzy. For instance, you are allowed to speed up to the speed limit up to okay, if you are within view of the increased speed limit sign, like if you're driving in a 55 and you can see the 65 sign, you're allowed to start speeding up to 65. And if you can hit 65 before you get to that sign, that's on you. You're allowed to do it.
Yep.
And I think that's what I got popped doing. I think I was in a 25 zone speeding up to 35 to get onto a 35, or speeding up actually to a 45 because it was about to hit 45, 25 to 45, that 20-mile jump. Oh, you can't
I
hit.
think you might be wrong on that concept of the sign.
Technically, you are not supposed to speed up until after you pass the sign. Practically, it is not enforced that way.
Aha. Okay.
Just like if you're going from a 55 to a 35,
You have
need
to be
at
going
45
35
by the
before
time
you hit
pass
that sign. Yes. What a cop told me is that you have that, and this may be a thing about how the cops do it. Because, like, the cops don't pull you until 10 or 15 miles over, right? They're like, yeah, whatever. So that may just be a convention, not a rule.
Yeah.
Just like in most cases throughout this country, 5 miles over is not considered a problem.
Right.
In most cases,
Unless you're in Greene County.
you are posted at 55. You are expected to be going 60.
Right. However, there are places, Greene County, Louisa County,
Lake Monticello.
Arrestifield County,
Yeah.
Lake Monticello. Oh my God.
Hey, Greene County's not quite as bad as it used to be. I remember it used to have a true traffic jihad.
And they didn't care. I will say that at the very least, they did not care who or what was in the car. They just cared, oh, you're a mile over the speed limit. Gotcha.
It's also...
So while they were vicious vipers of inequality in many other ways, in that one, at least they were vicious across the board, and they were not specifically looking for only one car.
That is true.
Which feels really wrong.
Enough, oddly enough, yes, that is true. Like, I expected, being that I had long hair and a Volvo, I expected to be pulled over all over the place in Greene County. But
as long as you're speeding, not speeding.
Because I was a careful driver, I never got pulled over in Greene County.
Mm-hmm.
I, on the other hand, have been pulled over for being an interesting looking car in both Albemarle and Charlottesville multiple times.
Yeah.
So
I got pulled over for a sneezing fit in Greene County.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like something they'd do.
I mean, I understand why, because I am having a prolonged sneezing fit, and it's making... I was in the truck at the time, and it was making me ride the line. on the not quite on the shoulder because I was trying to make sure I stayed in my lane as I'm
Right.
just sneezing.
And having a hard time controlling the vehicle.
Well, making sure that, because if I had it lined up on the line, I might have the tires on it, but I knew I was not going anywhere else.
Right.
And they're like, guy pulls me over and I roll down, and as he's walking up, I'm just, you could not miss the fact that I'm just continuing to sneeze. And he gets up there and my eyes are running and my nose is running and I have got wads of takeout napkins in my lap as I'm trying to handle this allergic reaction that hit. And he's like, have you been drinking? I'm like, no, sneezing. Achoo, 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 achoo.
Poor cop.
He's just looking at me.
Probably
And he
wanted to get you
backbraked
moving
because
because he didn't want to
also-
catch whatever you had. It's like,
Yeah,
oh
was he
no.
like, can you please put on some fresh gloves and hand me your license and registration?
Right?
I was to say this was also towards the end of 2020, so yeah, he backed up into the road away from me.
He's like, nope, I'm not. Nope. Oh, that reminds me of. Okay, so I one of the last time I went to jail for weed. See, this is why I want to take cops out of the equation. Is because I didn't even have the 5-minute window with this cop. I was driving an Audi. I was wearing a hoodie. This cop was gonna pull me over. He couldn't see my skin color, so he just made an assumption. And he pulled me over, and this is dumb. This is dumb on my part. This is even more dumb on their part. I had been dyslexic when I was putting the tags on my license, the stickers on my license. And I put the month on the year spot and the year on the month spot.
Yep.
And so he pulled me for that. And as he walks up to the car, the cop says, I smell weed. And then just pulls me out of the car. Well, okay. First thing he said, after he says, I smell weed, is he asked me if I have any weapons. I said, no, I have this, I have this small knife. It doesn't count as a weapon. Forgetting that I did actually have something a slightly more dangerous knife in the back, because I was moving from one house to another. I had a punch dagger, which is illegal in Virginia. It was that long, though. So they searched me, found all my weed, found everything in my car, and they just had a blast searching me. Because I have cystic fibrosis and I cough up a lot of stuff, my lungs are constantly trying to just get stuff out of them. In my car, I keep a cup that I can spit into. And if I don't change cups every few days, really, it gets pretty nasty. And so while I am sitting there in handcuffs up against the cop car, and they're just ransacking my car, I see a cop pull this cup out and like he's like, "Oh, is this alcohol?" I'm like, "No, no." And he
Yeah.
pops the lid and goes to smell it. Starts and I'm like, "You really don't want to do that. You really." And he takes a big whiff. And I see him almost vomit. It's like, I told you didn't want to do that. I bet you the dude got like the flu, the super flu, and a cold from that. Just from smelling it. Like, it is. I have. I both have a little sympathy for him and no sympathy at all. I mean, I warned him. I warned him. I told him not to smell that.
Oh.
And see,
Yeah.
this sort of interaction with police is why I want to take the police interaction part of it out. You know, even if I didn't have weed on me, even if I'd have been traveling clean, just because of how I look and how I move through the world, the cops would have pulled me out of my car and searched my car. No matter what. They wanted so bad to give me a DUI. They wanted so bad for me to be drunk. And the thing is this was before I was drinking.
Mm.
I had no alcohol in my system whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I passed their little roadside tap dance and say the alphabet, roadside sobriety checks. But they wanted so bad to nail me for a DUI that they tagged a reckless driving onto the incident. So that when I did get popped for a DUI, the courts thought it was my second DUI. And I was like, no, that was a reckless. And the court goes, no, that's code for DUI. We're supposed to treat that as a DUI. And I said, no, this is my first DUI. What you have now is, what you popped me for now is my first DUI. They did that just so that it would look like a DUI later. They did that because they were pissed that I didn't have a DUI, but they knew because they had me with weed, they could hold some shit over my head. So it was when I did actually get my DUIs, my lawyer had to argue out of them being my second and third DUI. And it's all because there was police interaction. And this is why I feel like some sort of system to take the police interaction out of it, to take out of it the choice of who gets the enforcement, the choice of what happens once the officer starts interacting with the person. Like, take the variables out. If you want a law to be effective, and that's okay, and that's the other thing about this, is to make people follow the speed limit by law, like to use a law to do that, it has to be consistent reinforcement. Every time you break the speed limit, you get a ticket. If you get away with it sometimes, then it's like, well, maybe I can get away with it every time. Maybe I'm just breaking the law wrong. And I just need to figure out how to break the law in a way that I won't get caught. But if it's consistent reinforcement, you're just going to stop. You're not going to, like, it's going to make you go, nope, it's not worth figuring out how to break this law effectively if I don't have any real opportunity to actually get away with it.
Mhm.
See, on the flip side, I love how enforcement causes certain reactions. I'll be driving down the road, going my 5 miles over, being passed regularly by people who are going significantly faster. And then suddenly, I have to swerve over into the left lane to avoid rear-ending someone who has slammed on their brakes because everybody who has passed me has gotten into the right lane and slowed down because there's a speed trap.
I mean, yeah, okay.
And then I continue driving the same speed I'm going, wave as I go through because I'm not doing anything that would get me pulled over in the first place, and everybody else sitting there trying not to shit their pants.
I don't wave at cops no matter what I do unless they wave first. Just because my picture has made the rounds to too many police officers' desks, and I can never assume that a cop hasn't seen my picture at least once.
Well, just remember, I am so mayonnated that my privilege has privilege.
Right.
And it's not something I'm proud of. It's something I will joke about, but it is true.
No, it's totally true.
And it's even the way I choose to dress seems to be with certain groups, and it's like, no, I'm not with that group.
No, I know I look like them, but I'm not with them. Yeah.
I still really appreciate that ending. The knives out. The third one.
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet.
You really, 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 really need to.
The quote was comparing a group of people to all looking like the way John Goodman dressed in The Big Lebowski. And unfortunately, the shoe fits.
Ow. There was a period of my life where I dressed like that. There was a period of my life where I definitely looked and dressed like that. I mean, I didn't have the shooting glasses. And no matter how I dress, I still always look a little spooky. But you guys earlier were talking about speed cameras and the ability to use to stalk people. And Locke, you pointed out that mobile phones do it already, and we're paying good money to be tracked. High concept Law and Order show. Law and Order white collar crime, and it just hammers on rich people and business thieving on workers, retirees, insurance scams, labor theft, wage. I love this. I love this. Also, Maddie said, sure, but I opt into that. I can leave it at home or pull the battery. We also need more privacy rules about that, too. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, but you can't pull the battery.
Not anymore.
No, you can't even pull the battery in half of them anymore.
No.
And the better part is a lot of them still have a tiny internal battery somewhere that's like a CMOS battery. So even after you pull the battery, you sometimes still have to let that thing sit for a week or two before it's finally fully powered off.
I mean, or you could, buy a cheap microwave and stick it in there. 5 minutes. That should do it. 10 if you're feeling froggy.
Oh, after 30 seconds, the battery will make sure that it's cooking itself. You can just pull it right out. It'll continue to cook on its own.
Yeah, but
Lithium
dead
and
battery
microwaves
is
are not
something
good friends.
No,
a dead
no.
battery is something you can come back from. Microwave, not so much.
I'm just saying. If you want to make sure they ain't tracking you through your phone. I mean,
So you're saying they've mislabeled burner phones? They should be nuker phones?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, sort of.
I mean, I'm taking burner phone literally. So
But the topic of speed cameras and who controls them, who is the one issuing the ticket, how do you deal with the ticket if
right,
if you weren't the one driving?
right. And
Um,
this is where the opportunity for the technology to be misused comes into play.
well, as I
This
say,
is
that
huh?
brings up the article that I posted.
Yes, which I was not going to click on until we got to it because
Mm,
I've noticed that a lot of the articles that we do run
yeah.
a lot of stuff in my background and then make my computer work way harder than it can.
Um,
Which is one of the reasons why I run ad blockers and that sort of stuff.
Yes,
One of the
blockers
reasons.
are amazing.
Can I do an ad blocker that won't also do some sort of
You
throttling to
can
my
whitelist
internet?
websites.
Huh?
You can whitelist websites, and besides, most of them are not monitoring the website that you're going to. There's specific code that ads have in them just by their nature, and it's just like, oh, this cookie is coming in. Nope.
Okay. Because it is well, yeah, what I worry about is like the problem that we had when I tried to have this running with a VPN.
mhm.
Is it just throttled everything? It was like, nope.
Oh yeah, a VPN is different. When you're connecting to a VPN, your traffic is essentially going through somebody else's machine, and they can budget how fast it is. All the
Mhm.
ad blocker does is before loading the page and displaying the page, it goes through, and the stuff that you shouldn't see, even stuff that isn't even shown on the page but is still tracking, it just doesn't show it. It just drops it out. It's basically a filter that runs on your end. It won't slow anything down. If anything, it'll speed it up because half of the website doesn't have to load anymore.
Okay.
Also, you've got the same kind of windows that I do. So if you go in the upper right hand corner next to where your picture thing is, um,
Picture
and
thing?
yeah, uh, like where the
Settings?
X is,
Three
go down and kitty corner
to the three
where the
dots?
dot, yeah,
Yeah.
The meatball menu.
meatball menu.
That is technically what it's supposed to be called.
Really?
Yes.
All
The
right. If you click on that and go down where it says more tools, it's got this. Um, it's got something that says reading mode. Click that. No, where it says more tools on the first thing.
reading
There you
mode
go.
new.
Reading mode. Click that.
Yo!
Or just push F9 and toggles it
Which you
on and
can
off.
do.
Apparently.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yo! That's way better. I like this a lot better. Okay.
I am
Detective
used to
Suffolk.
doing something similar with my tablet, and it took me a while to remember how to do it on the actual computer.
Okay. All right. Detective. Suffolk man accused of damaging flock cameras said they're unconstitutional. Suffolk, Virginia, a man charged with damaging more than a dozen flock safety cameras last year told an investigator that the devices were unconstitutional in violation of his and others' Fourth Amendment rights. The comments were revealed during a detective's testimony as part of a preliminary hearing Friday morning in Suffolk District Court. Okay. Okay, the automatic license plate readers, as they're generally known, use cameras and software to automatically capture, analyze, and store vehicle license plate information. They can also identify a car's make, model, and color, including if your car has a roof rack, bumper stickers, or any damage. While law enforcement has lauded their effectiveness in solving crimes, many have raised privacy concerns about the technology, referring to it as mass surveillance. It is, and that is not cool. In the end, it was a traffic monitoring cameras, officer said, that led them to arrest Sovereign. So, it was back in early April when Jerry Reyna, who heads up a neighborhood watch in the Harbor View area of Suffolk, said he noticed that some of their 6 flock safety cameras had been redirected to shoot away from the road. A few months later, entire poles that hosted the cameras had been knocked down. The elevated tampering began on... Okay, this is him doing that. So... vertically is meatball menu and 3 horizontal lines stacked as a burger menu. Weird. I get that though.
And I didn't make that up.
No,
No, that
it was
makes
just
sense. That makes so. And here's the thing. I do think that speeding cameras, that license plate readers do violate some amount of constitutional freedom. I'm I I feel like, you know, if the information were, if we were able to make sure that the information in any of these situations was insulated, so that the information stayed where it was, you know, that would be an important part of this whole system, so that you can't use speed cameras to track undocumented individuals, for instance. You know? And the idea of using automatic license plate readers, even to catch criminals, is a little like, yeah, I want that murderer off the streets, but it is a little bit of a violation of privacy just to go around reading everybody's license plate until you find the murderer.
especially when we've already had numerous cases of people being tracked from, say, Texas to New Jersey who had not committed a crime yet. They were just being used the cameras were being used to track the woman all that way by her ex.
Right. And this is where the weakness in that system shows. One of the weaknesses in that system shows.
He did not work for AT&T.
And again, it's at the human interaction part. It's where the humans interact with the system. that's where it gets misused. That's where it becomes dangerous. I While I support speed limits and enforcing speed limits, I think a different way of doing this needs to be developed. I think speed cameras were in some way a step towards that. In other ways, not so much.
Speed cameras that are where everything stays here, that is a step towards it.
I think taking officer interaction out, while it does have some drawbacks, as Lockpick pointed out, you know, rich people are going to abuse the lack of personal interaction. I think it makes it safer for the more marginalized individuals.
If
On the
speed
other
cameras,
hand, huh?
if speed cameras were still their quote unquote lower tech version of themselves, I would be much happier with it. That being, they had a radar speed sensor built in. If it got triggered, the camera would take the picture, as opposed to the camera is always on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the older ones that they had here, they actually had somebody who went around every day, opened the back of it, pulled the actual film canister out. Like there was a piece that they pulled out and had to put in a new empty one. They didn't even have access to those pictures until they physically went to the machine and pulled the thing out and put in a new one. It's like a memory card or something. I'm not even sure what it
Yeah.
was. There was just this like I had one not too far down the street from me, so I used to get to watch them do this like every morning at like 6 o'clock on the dot.
And again, that's,
That's my preference on it.
compartmentalization of information in these situations. It's a good thing. It is, there is a, as with anything, there's a trade off between freedom and security. And this is one of those places where I am willing to trade a bit more freedom. But I want to know that the freedom I'm trading is going towards a universal security, not a security weighted towards a subset of the population that has more means than the rest of us. And that's
There's
why.
that, and I would also like to say that I'd be willing to trade those small portions of freedom to people who are accountable for their actions as opposed to corporations who are not.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's the other part of it. And that is why I think, taking police interaction out of it, because the cops are essentially a corporation who have the ability to remove individual responsibility from any given member of its corporation. I mean,
Yes. Which,
so which means the officer pulling you over and treating you a certain way because they just don't like how you look is no longer is no longer answerable for their activities. under qualified immunity.
which needs to go away.
I mean, I agree. Qualified immunity, bad. Go away. Cops need to
The
be held
limited
responsible for everything they do.
the limited amount of qualified immunity, as in, I stopped to help you, I gave you CPR, you're alive now because I gave you CPR, even if your ribs are cracked or broken, is not my fault. You're alive. That is kind of the limit of where qualified immunity should stand.
Right. At the place of Good Samaritan laws. The thing is, I also think we need to hold police to a much higher standard than we hold regular
Yes, which is why Good
regular
Samaritan law,
civilian.
because you cannot do CPR properly without bruising and or cracking ribs. So you should not be
Right.
sued for that.
Right.
Has anyone ever been successfully sued for that?
It has happened. It has
I know
happened.
people have tried. I know people have attempted to. Has anyone ever actually been successfully sued for that, though? Like, has anyone ever actually been charged? Because I can sue you for anything I want, especially in the United
Right.
States. I can say, I don't like the fact that you tie your shoes to the left and not the right. I'm taking you to the court, and then a judge is going to tell me I'm wasting everybody's time, and I'm probably going to get in trouble. But I'm allowed to sue you
Yeah.
for it. So
Yes.
just because people have tried to sue, I'm just curious if it's ever actually happened.
It
I think
happened
it is-
prior to the law being enacted, which is why the law
Yep.
was enacted.
I remember when I was taking my CPR and first aid courses, I remember them telling us a horror story of somebody doing something, trying to be helpful, getting sued, and now these laws are in place to protect us. Because inevitably somebody in those courses always asks, what if I accidentally hurt someone? And they then tell that story. It is, you are more liable if you are not CPR or first aid certified and you try to do CPR or first aid.
And no.
There is more liability there. I won't say you're liable, you're fully liable, but there's some room for negligent actions.
Claiming that you administered CPR incorrectly thus caused greater harm.
Yep. So it is like, if you're not trained, be careful what you do. If you're not trained, get someone who is. Your job is to find a helper who can be helpful in that moment.
The problem is most of America is not trained. I mean, Amtrak's almost dead.
All right, leaving aside
my
that
Lord.
terrible joke. The
Oh,
other
God.
problem is if you are
I did
someone
not
that
see that
has
train
had-
wreck coming. Huh?
If you are someone that has had first aid training, including CPR, there are certain localities and jurisdictions where if you fail to try to help, you get in trouble.
Yes.
Maryland.
You are legally bound. By getting the training, you are legally bound to be helpful.
Yes. And they put out PSAs about that frequently, reminding you that if they expect that you know this if you are a nurse or a doctor or whatever, that you are supposed to stop and help. But reminding people that got their CPR training because they were helping out with the kids' swim team, you have to help. As long as you've got that certification current, you have to stop and help.
And when I had a current when I had my certifications current, I was fully ready to do that. My certifications haven't been current in. Never mind, we aren't going to do that math.
Almost 30 years. That's the way it is for me. I mean, I was a certified lifeguard.
How does a rock manage to be a lifeguard?
Because I can swim. Just because I can't float doesn't mean I can't swim.
Okay, fine.
It's a lot more effort to swim.
It is. And let me tell you, those parts where they were doing the training for putting someone on the backboard in the pool were a sheer nightmare for me because most people, you could just sort of let them float and pull the backboard up to them. Nope.
Hi, I'm going to save your life by drowning you first.
Well, for what it's worth, there's a really good chance that if you do drown after like a day or so, you'll float.
This is true. Undesired, but true.
Yeah, I haven't had my certification hasn't been current in 29 years. Now that I have done that math, it is 29 years. It was almost 30 years ago. It was like 29, and it was.
You mean
are about
we were
2 or
both
3.
certified to be lifeguards or at least have CPR training at the same time?
Right around the same time, yeah. It was. I was away at college, at my first stab at college, when I got CPR training. And that happened. We are a couple of months from my first attempt at college being 30 years ago.
No.
Oh, dear.
It was an elective during my summer school, which I had to take to complete my senior year.
Ah. So you got yours a few months before I got mine.
Sometime in August.
Yep. I'm thinking I got mine sometime in September, because I wouldn't have done it in the first few weeks of class. I'd have started getting my certification a month or two in. But I don't remember. I don't remember specifically. Of course, I was also there for less than a full semester. I failed out real quick.
So you were there for a trimester?
Nah, because I didn't even try.
Okay.
It was, yeah, no. It was, I got out of there so quick that I didn't have school debt. We got a refund on most of it. I got out of there in time to get a partial refund.
How come I feel that that is a lie, Master Rasta, when you call us fellow humans?
Yes, spoken like a non-human.
Or should
Good
I
morning,
say,
fellow human.
Also, for the record, it's the afternoon. I guess I can open up the door and not have to worry about waking you up if we get loud in here.
How far?
Morning.
How far over time zone wise are you?
They're not.
It's
They're in
1
our time
o'clock.
zone.
1 o'clock p.m. here.
Oh,
They're 10 minutes behind us. No,
It's 1:10
yeah,
p.m.
we're in. Okay, there you go. We're in the same time zone. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're all currently using fake time.
You don't get to have that rant until we change the clocks
Yes,
later
we
this year.
do. Nope, we've got them both
Later
here.
this
I
year,
told
when they
Vic I
change back
wanted this.
again, you are allowed
Let's
that rant.
go. Let's go. I'm in. Let's have this rant. Okay, guys, enough about speed limits. Let's talk about daylight savings.
Well, you can't talk about daylight savings time without talking about the speed limit of light.
I've timed it, by the way. I've timed the day before and after shifting the clocks. We didn't save a single minute of daylight. I mean, there was a few seconds, but that's just because the days get longer. But that move did nothing to save. I think they need to change the name of it.
Now, my question for you, since you are
Daylight
in
fuckery
another
time.
country, did your adjustment date change when ours changed?
Yeah, we keep ours in par with yours.
I am
Ours
so
is
sorry.
ours is, and you know the only place where it's a pain in the butt. I mean, like Master Raster here, he's from the UK. They change like on the old dates, so there's like a 2 week gap. And as somebody who puts together a raid train where we often have DJs from around the world, that 2 weeks is pure and total chaos for everybody involved. It's ridiculous.
Well, the entire
But
thing is
we've
pure
also
and
got
simple
we've got a
bullshit.
state like a condition like you guys too. Like what is it? Like you guys have got. I know Arizona. I think doesn't change.
Indiana.
Yeah, I think there's a couple that we've got like at least one of our provinces, maybe two that don't change either, and even that is such a pain in the butt. Such a pain in the butt.
Which provinces don't change?
I think I know Manitoba doesn't, and I want to say Saskatchewan.
Okay.
I'd have to look that up.
You know, my knee-jerk reaction for a guess was going to be Quebec. Just
Yeah.
because
Oh no, they're so economically intertwined with Ontario and the state of New York that we follow what the state of New York does just to simplay things. As soon as New
How
York,
very
as a state,
Canadian
decides to
of
drop
you.
it, we drop it too.
just
very,
from
very
all the
Canadian of
random
you.
stuff that I hear, Quebec is usually stated as being, oh, come on, having an entire province of oppositional defiant disorder.
Not anymore. That's
Opposite.
after the last referendum, which was I don't know how many decades ago. That's actually very much changing. Now our problem is Alberta. They're the ones who are the separatists now. They're the new Quebec.
Alberta, the new Quebec. All I had to do was tell you guys to go off about DST. It was worth it. Personally, huh? What was that? Personally, I don't have strong feelings on the matter. Really don't. I know you do. It's, and I
There's a
respect your
scientific
feelings.
reason why there are time zones. There's a scientific reason why noon is noon. Oh no, we're going to adjust that to 1 p.m. for no fucking reason other than some guy who thought the turkey was an awesome bird said it was a good idea.
They don't even know if that's the reason. They actually do not know why it started or why we do it. There are so many theories that they've tried to figure, but nobody actually knows the actual reason as to why we've been doing it for so long. Nobody knows why.
It was suggested
No reason.
by BF, but it was not enacted until almost 100 years afterwards.
Because there's people who theorize that it was all about, helping people function in the mornings. There's theories that it helped people
Saving
function at night
electricity
when
at
we
night.
didn't have the electricity, or before we had electricity, so there was less fire hazards. I mean, I've heard a million different people who were adamant on they know why we do it. And I'm like, none of you guys agree with each other. You've given us all
My
these
favorite
different
is
stories.
when you have people talking about expanding it or, oh, this is so great. They keep on saying, it's so great for the farmers. It's like these people function with the sun. It doesn't matter what the clock says. The sun is up.
Right?
They're up. They're doing their thing because they need to do their thing because the animals get up with the sun. Oh, they have more time in the evening. No, they don't. You're an idiot.
Right? They have their time in the evening is they have more time in winter evenings than they do in summer evenings. Their time in the evening is defined by how, like, when the sun goes down and how many hours they have before they have to wake up to do tomorrow's stuff.
And I'm
That's
pretty
the
sure
time
that if they could convince those roosters to sleep in for that extra hour, they would go and do it. But changing the
Oh,
clocks didn't have that effect, so they're still waking up at the same time.
Right. It's I again don't have personally don't really have strong feelings. You know, I just like when it gets dark early. That's all I'm saying is I like when it gets dark early. That makes me happy.
Considering I will wake up or step out of the building when it is morning and state, "Cursed fell orb of light that hangs in the sky, why do you torment me?"
So how do the neighbors feel about you standing on the front lawn yelling at the sun every morning?
One, I don't have a lawn. I live in an apartment. Two, I currently work a morning job, so I don't get the chance.
Oh,
You have to be there before
But-
it's actually
Also, it's Charlottesville. They're used to it. That is not the craziest thing they've seen today.
To give you an encapsulation, south of town, you had a man that stood in the median between 29 North and South and would wave at everybody entering town. Down on the mall, you have 2, if not 3 people that routinely stand there giving blind hugs.
Yep.
You've got 2 or 3 different street preachers that wander the mall.
We need to explain what blind hugs are real quick. Because I feel like people
I don't know.
No, they stand there with their eyes closed and a sign saying, "I will give you a hug without looking."
Right. Free hugs. Free hugs for anyone. No, I won't look. They fly a sign and stand there with their arms out, waiting to be hugged.
Yep. We've got the street preachers, which are different from the Jehovah's Witnesses because, they actually wait for you to come up and talk to them, and the Jehovah's Witnesses go pester everybody.
Right.
Don't forget the Mormon missionaries.
They're kind of in between. They haven't banged on our door recently.
Yeah. Plus, they're like, they go everywhere. Like, every city has those.
We've got at least 2 different guys that hang out somewhere between the downtown mall and Pantops that sing/cuss at the same time. Like they're singing hymns, but they're singing their own version of the hymn.
There's so when the mental hospitals closed down in Charlottesville after Reagan illegalized insanity.
Yeah.
They didn't close
Charlottesville
down, expanded their operating borders to the city limits.
That almost made me drop an F-bomb, man. F you. F you. Oh, that hit way too close to home. Oh my God. Oh God, yeah, no. So yeah, ever since Charlottesville just, and the same thing happened in Ithaca, by the way.
Mm.
Charlottesville has an unhoused. Let me find a difficult way of saying, or a diplomatic way of saying this. There are a lot of people with cognitive, social, intellectual, and emotional conditions that have just been thrown into the streets of Charlottesville since 1994 or 5, I think, when
That sounds about right.
Mountainwood closed, and then a few years later, Charter closed.
Mm.
And ever since then, UVA has been shrinking its number of beds and shipping people off to Carillion Clinic on the other side of the state. Unless you fit a certain type of profile. But this isn't a Tuesday show. We're not talking about that right now. But yeah, no, the Charlottesville has just been, I mean, it is, there's nowhere to put the people who need help. And it's such a NIMBY sort of area that nowhere is allowed to build any sort of anything. There are maybe, there's one shelter that I know exists, which is the Salvation Army, which has very limited number of beds. And by beds, I mean floor space.
Yeah.
And I think there may be another overnight, but I don't know for sure. But there are a couple of places where people can go during the day.
Mm.
But there's no infrastructure for dealing with the unhoused individuals. And so when events such as, say, Tom Tom Founders Festival or the Jazz Fest come around,
Festival of the Book.
Yeah.
Festival of the Book, the Virginia Film Festival, or big, any big name bands come to play the Pavilion or play the Paramount or the Jefferson. If they're big enough, they won't be playing the Jefferson. They'll be playing the Paramount or the Pavilion. But
Yeah.
they'll do a sweep. They'll pick up any of the unhoused around downtown. Anybody visibly, not within a certain range of acceptable gets pushed out. And I think some of that goes to jail for a while. Go to jail for a little while. Just so that Charlottesville looks pretty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know the other one, Haven.
The Haven. Are they an overnight or are they a daytime?
Um, I think they're day mostly, but they do have stuff for um they work on getting on stuff for getting permanent housing.
Yeah. So yeah, you can go there. If you're lucky, you sleep at the Salvation Army at night, and you hang out at the Haven during the day. And maybe if you're like super lucky, you get housing through the Haven. You find some
Yeah.
housing.
Hmm.
You know, they're suffering from a reality that differs from the consensual reality of the normal populace. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So that's. How did we get here?
Somebody mentioned daylight savings time, and then it just went out of control.
I tried to stop it. You said no, so I left to get tea, and when I came back, we were here.
See, when a woman and a man really like each other,
And there's a clock involved.
no, that's only if there's a time card.
Even Kevin
Gives
disagrees
new meaning to
with this
punching out.
conversation. I
What?
think it's time to go.
Okay. I think
When
we
we're
have.
sitting here going,
How did
why
we
are we
get
on this
here?
topic?
Yes, yes. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Now that we have discussed speed limits and other things. Thank you everyone for being here. I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Lockpick. Thank you, Cat. Thank you, Peanut Gallery. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Master Rasta 420. Thank you, Maddie Holmes. Thank you, Lockpick, for being in the chat. Thank you, Darth Dragonis. That's everyone. Thank you, all of you lurkers. Much love. And now is the time on the show when I say, wait, stick around for the raid. Also, did you check Snap this Peanut Gallery? Did you check? Huh?
Snap judgment.
Snap Judgment. Yes. Did you check Snap Judgment last week?
Oh no, there's no way I'm going to attempt to confirm this. You were just wrong.
I will
As they
try.
say
I will
around
endeavor
here.
to confirm this later this week.
You know what? Okay. You know who else says it? Champus Maximus. DJ Champus Maximus says it occasionally. And if he says it, it's good enough for me. So as they say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA. Ooh, there we are. VA, double deuces. We're out, y'all.
Thank you, Kevin.